Let's talk about it, Mark, from an atmosphere perspective. If you're playing for England on Saturday, you're playing at Villa Park, which was almost empty with 10 minutes to go because I think people had probably felt they'd seen enough. It's going to be a very different occasion away. It's probably the first occasion like this for this New England team with their new manager. Does it make a huge difference? Because we talk about it as fans and in the media all the time, like the atmosphere. But when you're actually on the pitch, obviously you've been on the pitch in these incredible atmospheres. Do you feel it, or does it all just melt away and you focus on what you're doing?
At first, you know about it because these type of countries and their spectators, they line and inside the stadiums 3-4 hours before kickoff. It's not like you see in the Premier League where the stadiums are three-quarter empty 15 minutes before kickoff. No, not in not in Serbia. I remember refereeing in Turkey is very similar. It's hostile the moment the kickoff is, but it's all about silence in the crowd. And I think, yes, Serbia is always going to be difficult. They've got history. They've got, the spectators can be quite violent. The England fans certainly know this, and it'll be a very, very difficult start. But many of the players have played in these environments before, and they're so experienced. They'll cut that noise down, but it'll all be on how the score is. Because if England score the first goal, they can silence them. But if they give the Serbians something to cheer about, it'll create England players a problem because, yes, it's sometimes young players, but this sometimes makes young players. They've got to go. I remember going into these difficult environments as a referee, and it made me as a referee because it's all right going to some of the small stadiums and the quiet stadiums and the nice stadiums, but when there's hostiles, the decision making for referees and players have to be really, really spot on, because if you give these crowd a chance to start, they can help Serbia win the game.
Controlling the atmosphere in Belgrade will be Clement Turpin. Is he someone we should feel confident in?
100%. Clement is a very experienced referee, Champions League final referee, and he's been in many tournaments before. And you know what? Referees love these type of appointments because it's going to be hostile. It's that the world media is going to watch because it's England. The referees, when I used to speak with the international referees all the time, they used to love refereeing England because it comes with a lot of pressure, and referees love that pressure. We go back refereeing the smaller nations, it's not so much pressure in the world media, but he'll know that the world's watching. That's why UEFA appoints such a senior and experienced referee, because they know this environment is different because it has England travel, and always there's issues with England traveling, especially in these volatile countries. So, the UEFA have big pressure on this game, and they'll want this game to be as clean, as good as possible regarding crowd trouble, everything else around the game. But they'll also want the game to be a good spectacle because the world will be watching this match.
From a referee's perspective, in terms of like elite performance, in a game where there's less pressure, do you as a referee, do you go, yeah, it wasn't my best game, but it wasn't the World Cup final, so it doesn't really matter? Like, do you want to find consistency as soon as possible?
Yeah, I think you want to be. It doesn't matter who the opposition is, or even when I was, for example, refereeing, I remember refereeing in a qualifying match, Denmark-Liechtenstein. Everybody knew Denmark was going to win, but it's an important game for both teams. If we look at England as an example, it was a bore fest, and you're right, the results don't really make any difference, but it does because it's the performance. I think watching England over the last few weeks and the last months since Thomas Tuchel took over, there doesn't seem to be any cohesion against togetherness. There's no, it's all right saying the buzzwords, but the performances are now worse now than they were under Sir Gareth Southgate. And I think that's where the concerns are as an England fan. Going forward, it's a tournament. Looking, the tournament's important, but we want to see performances. Results, yeah, are not so important if you're winning, but we want to see good performances.